Good evening, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. Tonight, we are going to be looking at HSRP, and I believe that stands for Hot Standby Router Protocol. We'll be implementing the lab, or I guess working our way through the lab from Jeremy's IT Labs CCNA packets. This is the day 29 lab, HSRP configuration. And basically what this is about is when you have some redundancy pointing to, let's say, for example, the internet, meaning redundancy, meaning you've got two routers that point out to the same, I guess, external location. You can make it such that if one router fails, the other router will pick up the traffic as the default gateway and vice versa. And you do this by creating a virtual IP address that essentially they both share. And then on your network, the MAC addresses for various, I guess, items on your network will send data to that virtual IP address, and then from there, HSRP will determine which router is actually going to send the packets out to the external location. All right, so this is a protocol by which your network devices send packets to a virtual IP address, and behind the scenes, that protocol determines which router of, I guess, several will actually send the packets. The other devices on the network don't need to know specifically which one does that. So this is my first time seeing this lab. Let's go ahead and get started. Can I make it a bit bigger? Is that too big? I'll go back just to stick with what we've been doing so far. Please let me know in the comments if this is not big enough. First up, so we got to do ping external server 8888 from PC1 and PC2. What is the default gateway configured as? All right, so here's PC1, and we will go to desktop, and we will ping 8888. All right, and what is the default gateway configured as? If we do ipconfig, we should be able to see that the default gateway is for the Ethernet connection is 10.0.1.253. Okay, so PC1 in this configuration points to, looks like 10.0.1.253 right here as its default gateway. So it's going to send data out this direction. All right, and now let's try PC2. I'm going to assume it's going to send it out of R2. So if we go to desktop and we ping 8888, all right, so that is successful. So we are successfully sending data out of which router? 10.0.1.253, and that looks like it's going to be over here. Let's see. Wait, no, 10.0.1.253. Oh, so they're both pointing to 253 as their default gateway. So both PCs are sending packets out of 253, which is R1. All right, so that's the first step. We know that both are configured to have a default gateway of router 1 interface G00, and that's 10.0.1.253. Configure HSRP version 2 on routers 1 and router 2. Raise R1's priority above the default, lower R2's priority below the default. Enable preemption. Okay, so there's obviously a HSRP version 1, and I think HSRP is Cisco's proprietary protocol that does this sort of thing. There's like VVRP, or there's a couple others that do similar things that are open source. HSRP is the Cisco proprietary one. And FHRP, First Hop Redundancy Protocol, I believe is the generalized term for this set of protocols that deal with basically one router picking up the slack when another router tips over or something else goes wrong. All right, so configure HSRP version 2 on routers 1 and 2. So let's jump into router 1. I believe we configure HSRP on the interface that's pointing toward our subnet. All right, so what is going on? Okay, so OSPF has been configured. That means there's routing that has been configured. Conf T, and let's jump into interface G00. And I'll just do a question mark and see if I can find the command. Yes, it's right here, the standby command. HSRP interface configuration command. So let's start with standby. We've got a group number. We've got an IP address, IPv6 address, a preempt. I believe that's how we will enable preemption. Priority level, timers, track, and version. So first of all, let's do version. And we'll say version number 2. Do we need a group number? Do we have to have a group number? I'm not sure, but I'll go ahead and create one. Standby group 1. And let me go ahead and pull up Google here. All right. Is a group level required for HSRP? Yes, a group number is required for HSRP configuration on an interface or subinterface. While it might be possible to use the default group number 0 without explicitly specifying it, it is best practice to assign unique and meaningful group numbers for the following reasons. Okay, HSRP version 2 allows a larger range of group numbers, 0 to 495, compared to HSRP version 1, so that's a difference between those, as indicated by Network Academy. All right, so I'll just leave that there in case we need to come back to it. So, back here, we're going to say standby group 1. How about that? HSRP, I lost it. Standby group 1. What's going on? Standby question mark 1. Incomplete command question mark. Okay, so then I need to enable the IP address like here, I guess. All right, so the virtual IP address, I believe is going to be this VIP, virtual IP address. So we'll say IP 10.1.254 question mark, and I think that's it. We don't need to add a subnet mask. Okay. So that is done. Let's do, while we're here, priority. Standby 1 priority value. All right, so above the default. So let's jump back over here. What is the default HSRP priority? The default is 100. Okay, hot standby router protocol. So if it's 100, let's raise this one to 150 to raise it above the default and confirming we are on R1. All right, and lower to R2s below the default enable preemption. So let's do that here on R1, standby. Overthrow lower priority active routers. Okay, so I think that's what we want to do here. And that's it. All right, now R2. CLI. All right, so in conf T, what do we got to do? Interface, gigabit 00. question mark, that's going to be standby. Standby, priority group, or group 1, IP. No, wait, we want to do standby version 2. Version 2. Standby 1. IP, and then it's going to be 10.0.254. All right, and then we need to lower the priority of this one. So standby 1 priority is going to be less than 100, which is the default. So we'll say 50. Okay, enable preemption. I don't believe we want to do that on the standby or the secondary router. I think because we want to tell. Preemption is basically saying, okay, if R1 goes down, R2 comes back up, R2 is not going to relinquish its spot as like the main router automatically. And by enabling preemption, R1 will pull back that control automatically once it's back available. And I think we're going to go through that scenario here. All right, so that's all done. I think we configured HSRP version 2 on routers 1 and 2. We raised R1's priority above the default. We lowered R2's priority below the default, and we enabled preemption. All right, number 3, configure the VIP as the default gateway of PC1 and PC2. Okay, so PC2 config default gateway is going to be 254. And that's it, I think. All right, and for PC1, default gateway, is going to be 254. So pointing now to the virtual IP address. Ping 8888 from the PCs. Check the PC's ARP table. What MAC address is mapped to the virtual IP address? So let's ping 8888. Ping 8888. All right, let's do that. And how do I see an ARP table? Is it just ARP? ARP-A. So the MAC address pointing at 254 is this MAC address, okay? Let me pull up PC1. Kind of want them side by side. It's annoying. PC1. And we will do, again, ping 8888 and see what is in ARP-A. So 254, the MAC address associated with that is OC9F F001. And what do we got over here? OC9F F001. All right, so that MAC address is associated with the virtual IP address. Now, can I just see? I was going to say, I was looking at the MAC addresses of these interfaces, and those don't make sense. Turn off R1. Save the config first. All right, so let's try that. After it restarts, ping from PC1 to 888 again. Is R2 used as the default gateway? All right, so I want to know, I'm curious, which of these MAC addresses belongs to that VIP? And I want to ask how to get MAC address for Cisco router. Show interfaces, show interface, yes, okay. I knew that already though. Exit, show interfaces, gigabit 0, 0. And what is its? Burned in is this. Okay. Exit, exit, show interfaces, gigabit 0, 0. What is this one? Okay, so I want to ask Google, what MAC address is used for HSRP virtual address? All right, so the HSRP hot standby blah, 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 virtual MAC address follows the format 000OC07 ACXX, where XX is the hexadecimal representation of the HSRP group number. Ah, I see. So this is just, it's not going to be any other device. V2. For V2, it is OC9F F0000, and then the final two have to do with the group number. Okay, so that makes sense. So we saw OC9F F001, and that final 01 is hexadecimal for our group number, which is 1. Okay, that all makes sense. All right, so configure the VIP, we did that. Ping, we did that. What MAC address is mapped to the VIP? We did that. Turn off R1, save the config first. Okay, so save config. I think I can just say write. And I think that will save the running config, save running config. How do I save? How to save running config Cisco. I should know this. Copy, or you can just say write memory. Alternatively, the command WR, or write memory, can be used as a shortcut for saving the configuration. Let's try that, WR. All right, so it's saved, hopefully. And now I will turn it off. Zoom in. Okay, so hopefully it is saved. Turn it off, R1. It is off. After it restarts, ping from PC1 to 8888 again. Is R2 used as the default gateway? Let's see. All right, so right now, they were all pointing to R1. I'm curious what they are doing right now. Like, what is IP config? What is the default gateway right now? Okay, so the default gateway is still 10.0.1.254. All right, after it restarts, so let's restart this thing. Ping 8888 from the PCs, check the PC's ARP table. No, sorry, from PC1 to 888 again. All right, so it has restarted, and let's go to PC1. Actually, let me confirm. Okay, it's restarting. It's starting up HSRP. As you can tell by the logs, it's active. Okay. I'm curious, what is its default gateway now? Still 254. All right. Ping 8888. Looks like it's doing ARP again. Maybe not. Okay, there's a couple that worked. Again. All right, so those are successful. Let's see. ARP-A, what's in here? Okay, so that's still the same, F001 for the virtual address. All right, IP config, default gateway, still 254. Oh, I see. I see. I need to turn it off and then do it. What was I doing? Okay, so that was kind of worded weirdly, but that's all right. Let's do this again. Turn it off. All right, R1 is off. This should say after it stops, ping 8888 again from PC1. Okay, so right now with R1, the primary router turned off, what is the default gateway? Okay, so it's still 254. And yeah, nothing looks different. So now I'm going to say ping 8888 again. And that's happening right away. And I'm curious, still 254 is the default gateway. Now, how would I tell if packets are going out of R2? How to see which router packets are leaving from HSRP. To determine which router is forwarding packets in HSRP, show standby command on the routers. All right, let's do that. Show standby. Okay, so this state is active, virtual IP, active virtual MAC address. Okay, hello timer. Priority is 50. State is active. All right, now what about this one? So how to tell if the router, how to see which router is primary. What's PC2's IP config? Yeah, I'm not seeing these get updated. Maybe they're not supposed to. All right, so I guess that's correct. I don't know. Is R2 used as the default gateway? If R1 is off, it must. I'm not sure really, though, how I'm supposed to verify that. How to verify HSRP secondary router. And let's do, on this one, debug standby. Debug standby packets. Okay, HSRP debugging is on. All right, so sending packets, it's active, primary. Okay, so if I ping something, does it get more of those? 8.8.8.8. All right, I'm gonna go to this thing. So it's not getting any HSRP traffic for pings. I don't want that. All right, there we go. That let's say, oh shoot, no debug, no debug standby, no debug standby packets. Wow, that's annoying. Okay. That one is curious. I'm not sure if I actually am doing that one correctly. I'll have to go and watch the video and see. how to confirm that R2 is used as a default gateway. Turn on R1 again. In HSRP, how to see which router is default gateway. Okay. The active router is the one currently forwarding traffic for the virtual IP address. All right, so we can confirm by showing standby that router 2 is the active router, which means it is the one. Okay, so this is how we confirm it. It's used as the default gateway because it is active. Turn on R1 again, and we'll see if our preemption works. I think without preemption, R1 will remain the secondary router and not claim the primary back from R2. But with preemption, I believe that it will. So once it restarts, I think we'll see some logs about HSRP status initiation. And once that is done, all right, now it's active. Turn on R1 again. All right, and now actually, let's just see. En, show standby, and I bet it's active. And it is. And I'm curious what this one is now. Same thing, show standby. State is speak. Okay, so that is interesting. Oh, now it's in standby. Let's do it again. State is standby. All right, so that confirms it. So that is the lab. That was an interesting one. What I'm noticing now is that knowing some of the higher level concepts, when you're doing a lab, you can, as long as you know like the top level word, keyword, for example, so we say conf t, and if I do a question mark, as long as I know for the protocol I'm trying to work with or the thing I'm trying to do, this top level word, once you're there, you can kind of use question mark to navigate down to the things that you need to do in further configuration. So it wasn't always like that, but that's definitely useful now for sure. And it's kind of like a little pebbles along a path kind of thing. Anyway, thanks for joining tonight. I hope this was beneficial to you. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.